The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff or management of Worldwide Digital Broadcasting Corporation.
Hot topics, food, fun, entertainment, and serious business. Live Las Vegas with Rikki Cheese.
Glad you joined us for our second show of Live Las Vegas with Rikki Cheese for 2018. We've got quite an array of different guests for you today. We're going to talk about everything from medical marijuana, setting up your own LLC if you want to go into business for yourself in this new year. We're also going to talk about the need for nominations. Amazingly, for Everyday Heroes, the American Red Cross is putting out the call for you to nominate somebody that you think did something extraordinary, or even the folks who were heroes and heroines during the 1 October shootings. And then, of course, sandwiched between those, one of my favorite crazy men on the planet, he has brought Ken Foose from Exotic Pets. He's brought some exotic pets to talk about the things that people might have gotten for holiday gifts and don't know what to do to take care of them. So he promised that he did not bring a mammal that was going to molest me on the air, as he has done in past. And he hasn't promised that one of the lizards is not going to jump for freedom, because every time he says that, one of them tries to leap for freedom. So I don't know. Stay tuned for that. That's coming up in our next segment. But we're going to get things started right now with Vicki Greco. She is a criminal defense attorney who is licensed to practice in California, but she's also my go-to person when we have a lot of very serious topics here in Southern Nevada that we need to talk about. One of the industries that's now just all up in arms here in Nevada, and to an extent, of course, in California as well, is the issue of marijuana, medical marijuana, and now recreational marijuana, now that we have Mr. Sessions in Washington saying he's going to let prosecutors go after people who are actually selling marijuana. This is a rollback of what's called the Cole memo under Obama, where he said, in essence, the federal government is going to turn a blind eye to it as long as you guys aren't getting crazy. But this has kind of thrown the industry into a little bit of a frenzy because nobody knows what's going to happen.
It absolutely has. And even now, with the blind eye, it was impossible to get a bank account, let's say, unless it was a state bank, because the federal government would not be able to hold the money for an illegal operation. Now with what Sessions is doing, he is just really enforcing the law, and I feel it's an initiative by the federal government to make Congress act to actually legalize it. Right. Because the law is very straightforward, stating that it's illegal, but they're not doing anything to prosecute. So now if you have the federal government coming in and prosecuting where the states aren't, that's going to be a huge problem. So what you'll probably see next is the legislature legalizing it. Right. One of the things that happened when the whole marijuana issue, the last, not so much Lombardo right now, but the last two sheriffs, and definitely Bill Young and Doug Gillespie, were very, very anti-marijuana. They didn't want to see it sold, used, anything, and we're really fighting against it. The Resort Association also fighting against it because, you can buy it, but they didn't want guests bringing it into the hotels. So now we've had all of these people maybe in front of dumpsters or on the sidewalk. It's just been kind of crazy in terms of that, how can I put this unevenness about the way the bills are being used. Right, because now you can buy it, but it comes in a sealed package to take it off the premises. You're not even allowed to open it on the premises that are actually selling it. So what you're going to see starting soon are what they call lounges, where you can actually go and smoke them. And I believe that that's going to be a huge issue for legislature. For example, how can you say smoke marijuana here and then drive home? Right. Because it stays in your system for 24 to 48 hours and you'll be driving illegally. And so it's almost like the shop owners will be endorsing it. It's a lot like dram shop laws. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. No, explain what that is. Okay, every state except Nevada has what's called a dram shop law, to where an innkeeper or an owner of a bar, if they overserve the people to where they know they're overly intoxicated, they could become liable for anything that happens once they leave their facility. Here we don't have dram shop because we have the casinos that make their money basically when you get overly intoxicated and lose all your money. So legislature here does not want to put the liability on the casinos because you could imagine what would happen. But every other state in the country has that law to keep the innkeeper responsible for not over-serving. But there isn't a level of marijuana that's over-serving. It's one puff and you're driving under the influence.
Right.
So I don't know how they're going to get around that.
And I've been to a couple of meetings leading up to this where people who have medical marijuana, they have their license, they're able to do it, but they're afraid to drive because now you've got Metro basically enforcing what is federal law, and they're put into the same category as somebody who's just a regular DUI. They're still driving impaired.
I believe what they're going to have to do is go to levels that can be in your system of the THC and active levels, and then determine at some point it's zero tolerance now. But at some point in other states like Colorado and different states like that, you can have a certain level of THC in your system and not be considered impaired.
Right.
And that's probably where it's going to have to go.
Right. How soon do you think, in light of what's happening at the federal level, is it even conceivable that we should see lounges opening up here in Southern Nevada or in Nevada in general?
I believe it's going to happen because anything that's profitable to the industry, they'll deal with the repercussions of it later.
Right.
From what I've seen, the way Nevada works.
Right.
But I don't know how soon. It'll probably be, I heard that they're talking about it now. So I'm assuming that they'll come out with directives and people will have to go through a vetting process to open, and it's going to cost a lot of money. I don't know how they're going to be insured.
Right.
Who's going to insure them?
Right. Yeah, you still have the federal law, which is the bedrock of all this thing.
It's a whole new industry opening up for insurance companies, banks, everything that want to deal with that side.
Only in Nevada do we have this crazy, right?
Right.
So let's talk about some other things. I had to reach out to my bank, Wells Fargo, and I just want to say for the record, I had to deal with my escrow department, and I'm probably one of the few people on the planet who had the most wonderful experience, and I just want to say Wells Fargo was good to me in 2018. I know that some people have problems with them, but they were really, really moving it along for me. And so let's talk about getting started in business, because you are licensed to practice in California, but you can also talk about some things that people need to know in terms of going into business here in Nevada. A lot of people want to start the new year off. They've got their plans on going into business for themselves. What are the first things they need to take a look at, especially when it comes to taxes and setting up an LLC? And the difference between an LLC and just a regular business license?
Well, there's a difference between a regular business license, an LLC, and a corporation.
Right.
There are different types of partnerships. I prefer an LLC. My business is an LLC. An LLC has benefits because it can tax you as an S corporation, whereas it also can consider you as an individual. So if you have different write-offs, you can take it in. Corporations are, in my opinion, the bigger companies like IBM, things like that have a bigger structure. But if you're just a small 1 or 2 person business, an LLC would be the way to go. You would not necessarily want just a straight business license doing business as your person, because if there's any liability that falls onto the business, then it falls onto you directly.
Right. That was the thing when you first described it to me. It didn't occur to me, of course, just getting started, that just a regular business license does not protect you as an LLC, which is a limited liability corporation company, because under just a regular business, somebody could take your house, your car, everything.
Correct.
But you have more protection as an LLC. How widespread is that?
It depends. If you're doing it to hide assets, then they can do what they're called piercing the corporate veil and come in and get those assets if you're not running your business the right way.
Right.
But if you're running your business the right way and you're doing everything and dotting your I's and crossing your T's, you should be protected.
Right. So let's talk about taxes. Is it smart to start planning now for next year, or are you kind of like too late for this year?
To pay the taxes?
Yeah, right. to get started and thinking about your tax planning if you're going into business for yourself.
If you're going into business for yourself and you're an LLC, you have to pay quarterly taxes. So you should be paying them every quarter, which is an estimate of the amount of money you'll make for the whole year.
Right. So you have to kind of have an idea of what you brought in either the previous year. So for folks who are starting out for the first time, though, they won't have that overview.
I recommend that they get an accountant. Every good business has a good accountant, and they don't cost that much because, you know, my accountant, I think, charges $125 a month, and she does my payroll, my accounting, and then includes the corporate tax at the end of the year in that. So you're basically paying up front to have your taxes done.
Right, that makes a lot of sense. So the business climate out there right now here in Southern Nevada getting better?
I think it is. I see definitely a lot more potential for new businesses, especially within the industries of marijuana, and also what's just going on right now. We don't pay state tax. So whenever you're in a state where you don't pay state tax, it's a good place to open a business.
Right. Well, and I always have to remind people of that when they talk about, especially newcomers, when they go to the DMV and they get that sticker shock. It's like, well, how do you think that the roads and the infrastructure is being paid for? We don't have state income tax, so they got to get their money from somewhere. So where can they go that they know that that's, you know, money in the bank? DMV is one of those areas. How about some others?
For where they're getting their money
back?
Right,
where the state's getting their money. They have to.
Gambling.
Yeah, right.
They tax the gambling. So the casinos pay... I think that they pay, even though they don't pay a state tax, you pay a tax per employee. Right. And they have a lot of employees, so the casinos are basically covering everything for us.
And I love it when I run into people who say, well, you know, especially when it comes to schools or anything that people perceive that should be paid for by government, the first thing I hear out of someone's mouth, especially newcomers and some old timers too, is, well, the gaming industry should pay more.
Well, now the marijuana industry is paying it too because they have a high tax on that.
Right.
That goes straight to the state as well.
Right. And that money is like, I think the question is for a lot of people, how is that money being divvied out? So now, how is it for you living in Nevada and practicing in California? How common is that?
It's very easy because California is such a vast jurisdiction that 90% of my hearings I can do telephonically. Mm-hmm. So I don't actually have to physically be in California because unlike Nevada or Las Vegas where the courthouses are within a 5-mile radius, in California you could be in San Diego and LA at the same time. So because they understand that there, they allow lawyers a lot more flexibility in the appearances that they make.
Right. And so is business good?
It's good.
Thank you. What advice do you have for people moving forward in their businesses for 2018?
Don't wait. Get your business started now because it's not too late to make sure that you're on track. If you don't have it opened yet, open your LLC this month.
Right. Perfect. Thank you, Vicki.
Thank you, Rikki.
We'll have all of your information, of course. And Vicki has her own website, of course. You can get her on Facebook. You're on Instagram, too, as well?
No,
not on Instagram, just Facebook. And if you have any questions about doing business here in Nevada, or if you have a legal question that needs to be taken care of in California, she's your girl. So we'll be right back after a short break.
Crazy Terry here with your car care tip of the day. So it's not a bad idea every now and then to check your battery. If you don't know how to do it, have somebody check it for you. Just a visual inspection can tell you a lot about your battery. So as we can see here, this battery's got a hold down. It's nice and tight. The cables are on. They don't look bad. We've got a cover. We don't see any corrosion. Everything's kind of tight, looking good. A little bit of dirt, that's normal, but nothing's leaking. No real cause for alarm here. So that's a good sign. Doesn't mean it's good, but at least visually we know that it's intact. Okay, so we're looking at a battery here that shows signs of corrosion. We want to test that battery to make sure it's good. Usually when they're getting like this, there's going to be a problem leaking some acid at the top. We ran the test and we find out it has 396 cold cranking amps, but the battery requires 650. So it's just not enough. The battery is going to go soon. Better to know now than later. Okay, so the benefits of checking the cable is because this cable's rotted out. What we'll find is this is the problem, not the battery. So it'll save you from buying a battery, still having the no start, only to find out that it's a cable. This type of corrosion is common in diesels. Okay, so we're getting ready to jump the car, but we have to have some battery cables. And we have to check those too before we hook them up to the battery. So here we have our standard set of battery cables. We just look them over, see if the ends are frayed, if everything's connected all right. Everything looks good here. Wouldn't hurt to check the rest of the cable just to make sure the dog didn't get it and chew it up. We have red and black. Red's positive, black's negative. You always want to hook the positive up first and then the negative. And I'll show you how that's done right now. Keep these off to the side so they're not touching each other. Hook up your positive. You can find that right here by the plus sign, the negative sign. Plus is positive, red. Make sure that's securely hooked up. Keeping these away from each other, hook up your negative cable. Just got to fight it on there, figure out a way to get it. Wiggle it a little bit so it ensures a good connection. Now you're transferring voltage. If I hit these two together, we're going to spark. Kind of want to avoid that. Won't kill you. Kind of fun. A lot of people think if they can turn the headlights on, the battery's fine. That's not always the case. It takes very little amperage to turn a light on, but it takes a lot of amperage to start the starter. I recommend checking the charging system every oil change. At Sun Valley Automotive, there's never a charge for that. This is Crazy Terry with your car care tip of the day.
Okay, eventually at some point in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be talking, as our phone is ringing, we're going to be talking about some of the more traditional pets that people get for the holidays where they're not expecting it. I've got a good friend who got a puppy that he wasn't expecting, and they already have some dogs, and so that's a whole other issue. But a lot of people also get some exotic pets, either because the person who's giving the gift thinks that they're just the greatest gift on earth, and they don't ask any questions ahead of time, or it really is something that somebody wants, but they don't know how to take care of this particular pet. So my go-to man, whenever it comes to something that's out of the ordinary that you might want to get for yourself or for a friend or for an enemy, is Ken Foose of Exotic Pets. His store is located right out there by the North Las Vegas airport. It's actually you're actually on Decatur.
Right on the corner
on
of
Decatur and Rancho, yeah. So Smoke
Ranch.
Ranch is actually closer, right? Yeah. But nobody knows Smoke Ranch except for those of us who live out there.
This is true.
So the last time he was on, he loves to bring animals that want to attack me, which I just think is like really great TV. So I encourage him in that. But today he's got some squirmy little animals that are actually probably a little bit more common that people know about. Yeah, because when we had the kinkajou on, even John Stiles, our owner, said, "What's a kinkajou?" Right? Yeah.
Well, these are a little bit different. And by the way, giving anyone a puppy for a Christmas present is not a good idea.
It's so ill. Don't do it. A kitten either. Don't do it.
Pets in general for Christmas gifts or birthday gifts are a bad idea.
Right.
And it's much better off get a gift certificate to a store.
Right.
And let them go pick it out or cash it in or whatever.
Right. And they can do that with your store too, because
yes.
As part of this segment too, we're going to talk about a big fundraiser he's got going on at Exotic Pets. So these are guinea pigs.
These are skinny pigs.
Skinny pigs? Why are they skinny pigs?
They're hairless.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry, baby.
They're kind of squirmy. They're just babies.
Right.
They're scary.
How old is this one, male or female?
These are, I don't know. I think they're all females. And I don't think skinny pigs really produce a lot of males. But these are...
why.
These are hairless guinea pigs. They're just like your run-of-the-mill normal guinea pig, except they have no hair.
All right.
And these are about 2 months old now. But as you can see, they have a little bit of hair on their snout.
Wow.
But not...
So how common are skinny pigs? I've never seen one before.
They're getting more common all the time. Of course, it's a genetic defect. They're born without hair.
Right.
And I won't describe what they feel like.
Actually, I like them. He's very warm. And it's sort of like a hairless Chihuahua. That's kind of how their skin feels.
Well, actually,
yeah, very soft.
I always thought what it would be cool is if I had a hairless dog, a hairless cat, A hairless guinea pig, a hairless rat. We also have hairless hamsters.
Really?
So we have the hamsters and the guinea pigs. And I think they should come up with a hairless rabbit. That would be very cool too. But anyway, these tame down very nicely, and they're quite loving once they get used to you.
He's very calm.
They're scared.
How big will they get?
Same size as a regular guiney pig.
Okay.
About 5 pounds.
Right.
Now they won't look as big as a regular guinea pig, of course,
Right.
because they don't have hair.
Right.
It's just like hairless cats.
Sure.
Like they're all anorexic, but that's the lack of hair.
So now, what do they eat? What does for somebody who might have gotten one, or somebody who's thinking of getting one, for somebody who might not even want one?
Well,
what do they eat?
Well, you treat them just like a guinea pig. They eat guinea pig food.
There's guinea pig food.
Oh yes, just like there's rabbit food, and but it's not the same stuff. They'll eat guinea pig food. They like treats. You need a lot of vitamin C in their diet. The only trick with a skinny pig is they have bad reactions to bedding. So like you can't use pine shavings or wood shavings. Even the Carefresh that we use, it's the paper product, is not good for them. You need to use like lint-free towels, like or baby blankets.
Okay.
For their bedding, because they get allergic reactions from their skin. It hurts their skin. It's real delicate. Like we've got this little lint-free towel in here for now, but at their cage in the store, it's just this big towels.
Right.
That don't have any string and don't have any fuzz. It irritates their eyes and it irritates their skin. So that's the only real precaution you need is to watch out what kind of bedding you have. Now, because they don't have any hair, they actually cut a lot easier.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
The protection.
Sure.
So sometimes if you have multiples in together, they'll scratch each other on accident.
Ooh.
But these guys are doing pretty good. These are all girls.
Right.
I don't know why they aren't making guys. For some reason, genetically, males are not very predominant.
They got the Harvey Weinstein call.
So, well, like I said, I won't even describe what it feels like.
So now, how big of a habitat, how big of a container or a cage do you need for them?
I would say for them, you're going to need something about maybe, for one, probably something that's 2.5 feet long and maybe 1.5 feet wide, and something like this, only bigger.
Right.
It's we saw a lot of these. We have guinea pig starter kits, which are great for these. The only difference is the bedding that comes in the starter kit doesn't work.
Now, where are they from? Where are guinea pigs from? Where do they originate?
Peru and down in South America. These are the ones you eat. I've eaten guinea pigs in Peru.
Really?
Yeah, they're.
Is it like chicken? I mean, what?
No, it really tastes nasty. I don't like it at all. But I ate it just because someone brought. And when they bring it to you head and all, and the teeth are sticking out and stuff, and then you kind of carve into it like it's a chicken.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of nasty.
So for the people of Peru, are they seen as a delicacy? Or?
Yes, well, they're common food down there. But
Right.
of course, for us Gordo Gringos, we go down, and of course, we got to go to a restaurant and have guinea pig.
You got to try it at least
You gotta
once,
try it
right?
because it's traditional.
So you're saying it's not the best taste? It doesn't taste like chicken.
Well, I don't like it. No, I don't care for it. But I'm kind of a McDonald's guy.
Right. So what else have you brought us today?
Well, this is something that's unusual, but looks common. This is, a lot of people, when I take this out, they'll go, oh, look, it's a hedgehog. But it's not. This is called a tenoric.
A tenoric?
Tenoreks come from Madagascar. This is full grown. So
Wow.
This is a pygmy hedgehog tenorek, they call it, but it's a tenorek. They're nocturnal. They've got the really beady eyes. They've got the spines like a hedgehog.
Yeah. And it feels kind of just a little, not really rough, but definitely not soft.
It's not as hard as a hedgehog would be.
Right.
The big difference between these visually is the ears are shaped different. They've got the much smaller eyes. They've got a longer nose.
Right.
And then check out their front feet. Their hands are
almost like human hands. Yeah.
They actually pick things up and put them in their mouth, whereas a hedgehog is more like a hamster with spines.
Right.
But these are very uncommon in the United States. I mean, compared to a hedgehog, we'll sell 50, 60 hedgehogs in
Really?
And we're a small store compared to a lot of places across the country. These are much less common. I would say there's probably only about a handful of stores in the whole country that sell them. And I don't think you'll run away either. You'd probably just wander around on the table.
Sure. Go ahead.
The guinea pigs would go ah. And these are much more expensive than a hedgehog.
Why is that?
Because they're so uncommon.
Okay. Yeah.
But like this sells for like $800.
Are you serious?
And of course, a hedgehog you can get for under $200.
Now, how long do they live?
Probably only about 5 or 6 years.
That's a lot of money for 5 or 6 years. Yeah. So the people who want these as pets, they're more of connoisseurs. They're folks who really know what they're getting
into. And there's a possibility they want to breed them. And they're almost impossible to tell the sex. Supposedly I have a pair.
You're not sure.
Well, that's what they tell. It's not a snake. I can sex a snake. But,
right. Yeah.
A tenor-rack is tough.
Well, before we get to our next pet, tell us a little bit more about your shop, Exotic Pets, and how you got started in this business. I love your story.
Well, I ran around catching stuff just like everybody else does when they're a kid growing up in Missouri. And I kept a lot of snakes. I'd get bit and I'd let them go. I never really kept them. And then when I was 9, I caught a copperhead, and it bit me. And
that's a bad thing.
And, well, I was 9. I get bit. I live out in the woods. I get bit and scratched by all kinds of stuff. Yeah. So it bit me, and I ran around, not paying attention. And the next thing I know, I'm in the hospital, and my arm is all blown up, and they killed my snake.
Right.
Because I had it.
But your snake could have killed you.
Now, copper is, there's very few. I think 2 people have ever died from a copperhead bite. So I ran around and I decided that I wanted to learn everything there was about snakes so that I could kill them all. And ended up reading all about them. I'm like, these things are so cool.
Yeah.
So of course I started out with snakes, and then it progressed to lizards and stuff. I went to school. I got a degree in zoology. Worked at many zoos. In fact, my very first zoo job was in Topeka, Kansas. And I worked at a building, and all I did for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, was feed, water, and clean tenoraks.
Really?
The whole building, because they were very, very rare, supposedly endangered. I went to Madagascar. There's tenoraks everywhere, so I don't know what they were thinking. But I was so sick and tired of tenoraks after I quit that job, and I moved on to Dallas. But that was my first job, was taking care of these things, and I really hated them.
Right.
It took 30 years for me to get something in the store. But anyway, so now I have the store. It's pretty big. It's the largest pet store that sells animals, land animals in town. We just moved 9 months ago.
Right.
We're still busy filling it up because I'm poor, so it takes time to fill things up. But we're expanding into birds. We've done the reptile thing as far as we can. So it's like, well, if I'm going to go up any further, I need to switch. So we're going to do birds along with the reptiles and the amphibians and the mammals. And of course, we try to get as many weird mammals as we can because they're fun. We'll have porcupines this spring. We'll have wallabies again this spring.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's about it. I've got a nice staff. They work hard, and they're all animal lovers, and each one has an expertise in their own field, and of course we're all generalists.
And what I love about your store too is now that pretty much most of the venues where you could go to see animals have closed down.
Yes.
On the weekends, you guys are like the closest thing to a zoo now in Southern Nevada.
Sunday afternoon we're fairly busy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that come in. We of course approach everyone and ask if they need any help, but 99% of them are just there to look.
Right.
And something else I wanted to mention too, we're having our food drive.
Right. Yes. Let's talk about that.
So there's always these food drives between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and everybody brings in food and donates. But the problem is people are still hungry in January and February and March and April and May. It doesn't disappear.
Right.
So we decided to have instead of having a canned food drive when everybody else is, we're having a food drive now.
Right.
And it's going on until the end of the month. For every can of food that you bring me, I give you a raffle ticket. And then we'll draw the raffle ticket on the 31st after we close on Wednesday. And whoever's ticket we get gets a $500 gift certificate to the store.
Wow. You can buy a whole lot of exotic pets for $500.
Someone just brought in $100 worth of canned food yesterday. And so it's very nice. And it was like ravioli. Who eats ravioli? I'm like looking at this, I'm thinking, I'm hungry. Ravioli.
Some of the canned food is not going to make it out of exotic pets.
Well, I may trade it for some old cream corn I have in my house, but it was so it's very nice. So we've got quite a good response. But anyone who wants to bring down canned food, they're more than welcome to, and we'll give you a ticket for every can. You know, like I had one guy bring in 45 cans of food.
Wow, and that's pretty cool.
And we're just doing cans. We're not doing top ramen, or that gets crazy.
Right. Yeah.
They bring in cases of top ramen because it's cheap, but you know. Poor people,
put a little effort about.
Poor people can afford top ramen.
Right.
So,
right. Okay, so put him away, and then now we have.
You asked for a lizard.
Right. You know.
You're not allowed to touch this.
I'm a lover of all lizards and snakes.
Okay, this is. The other night I was watching the giant Gila monster, 1956 movie.
This is a real movie?
Oh, it was called the giant Gila monster. It was actually a beaded lizard, and they just made it. They put little Matchbox cars on that. Very poorly done. But it was
sort of like the Godzilla movies.
Yes, but it was a real beaded lizard. It was kind of cool. So anyway, I just thought.
Woohoo! I may not be holding this one.
No, probably not.
Right.
So I thought I would bring in a real beaded lizard.
Wow.
So this is a Mexican beaded lizard. It's not quite full grown. It'll get possibly up to another foot long. This is venomous.
Okay.
This is just like our Gila monster.
Mm-hmm.
So
he's brought a snake that could kill me.
Well, no, it won't kill me. It's got venom glands in its lower jaw.
Uh-huh.
And so what these do is they bite you and they don't let go. And they chew on you and chew on you.
Sort of like a pit bull, only the lizard style.
Yes. I'd probably rather be bit by a pit bull.
Right.
But they chew on you, and the venom through capillary movement goes up through the gums and up the teeth, and it just chews that venom into you. So no one's ever died from a bite.
Right.
It's extremely painful.
I'll bet.
And the way the doctors decide how badly you've been envenomated is how badly the pain is. It'll start in most people, of course, are going to get bit on the hand because they're messing with them.
Right.
And it starts on your hand and works up your body, up the arm.
Well then, okay, this is my next question. Why would anybody want one of these?
Well, they're very cool, as you can see. They don't move very, very fast, but it can spin around and bite you very fast. Come back over here. You're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And
see, he's also breaking for freedom. He's like inches away from the edge of the desk.
Probably won't drop off.
That's what you said about the last time.
Well, yeah, but I lied. But
that was 2 shows ago.
Yes, he disappeared. Yeah, now Jim didn't have anything run away, did he?
Right, no, Jim was really good.
Yeah.
He had the big, I think it was a python or the boa constrictor. Right, he had the big python just wrapped around his neck.
Pull this guy back. He's got really big claws. We need to trim his toenails. Right. But so these are venomous, but they're not considered deadly.
Right.
They are legal to keep in Nevada. You do need a permit for them, which is only $15 a year.
So give me an idea of the cost of these. So the skinny guinea pigs.
Skinny pigs run about $120. Mm-hmm. The Tenorix is $800.
Okay. For 5 years of Tenorix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this animal runs around $1,200, but it will live for. Well, I've still got my Gila monster, which I'm the only private party in Nevada that's got a permit to keep a Gila monster, and I've had Hildegard since 1977.
Wow.
And Hildegard was an adult when I got him. Now Hildegard's actually a boy.
Right.
I'd hoped he was a girl. But so I've had the Gila monster for over 40 years, and This lizard will probably also live for 30, 40, 50, 60 years.
Well, and those are the things that people have to take into account when they're buying an exotic pet. Is you hear about the tortoises that outlive and the birds that outlive their owners.
Oh, sure.
And you have to actually put it in your will to try to find somebody else in the family, or even a stranger, to take these animals over. They're not anywhere near going away.
Well, like I have Galapagos tortoises, which we've had on
right.
the old show, and my big male is like 600 pounds, and he's like about 30 years old. He's got about 200, 300 years to go. so he'll definitely outlive me by a long shot. So you've got to kind of have a contingency. Of course, most people think they're immortal.
Right.
As I get older, I realize I'm not. But most people don't arrange for things like that. Like my rock iguana that I used to have, he's like 20 now, and they live for 75 years.
Wow.
And now, just as a precaution on this thing, I don't necessarily recommend people handle these things. They are venomous, but this was produced by me,
right?
And so it's used to being.
So over the holidays, what were the most common presents that you saw people coming in buying these animals as presents?
The number one and two animals that we sold in the store were ferrets and hedgehogs.
Yeah.
All of which, please don't arrest me, 90% of all the ferrets and hedgehogs we sell go to California.
Really?
Because they're illegal down there.
Right.
So most of these animals go to California. We sold a couple of these, but these are actually illegal to have in California,
right.
and in Nevada. We sold a lot of baby snakes. We sold a lot of leopard geckos.
Mm-hmm.
Very popular.
Yeah, we had those on. They were really pretty.
The little crested gecko that Jim had on the last show. We sold a lot of those. No, you can't eat the skinny pigs. They would eat the skinny pigs. This eats mice and rats.
Wild Kingdom here had Live Las Vegas.
But what we sold the most of were gift certificates and setups, and people would buy a turtle setup and then
and you say that's the best way to go, is to, if you don't really want to, let that person make the decision for themselves, because an exotic animal, that's different than a puppy or a kitten.
Yeah, well, if they're a turtle fan, and the people that are buying the present know that, and they can buy a turtle setup, and of course then what they do is they come in, and if they don't want the turtle setup, they can exchange it for something else,
right?
Or we can be there to pick out which kind of turtle they want, and that happens a lot. We don't mind swapping things out. We want all these people to keep these animals forever,
right?
We want them all to get really good homes, and like I said, I don't necessarily recommend this for everyone, especially people with kids running around that can get into cages. You should have this cage locked. But for the most part, most of our animals are fairly benign.
Yeah.
Like I said, we sold a lot of snakes, a lot of geckos, a lot of bearded dragons. Bearded dragons
are so popular.
It's the number one. Yeah. And it is the best pet lizard in the world.
Yeah. I've seen women coming into your store with their bearded lizards draped over their shoulders like an accessory.
Yeah, they'll take them out. We don't normally recommend that they take them outside, well, because of the heat.
Sure.
Now it's too cold, but the dragon would probably be okay in the rain. But a lot of people take these things outside in the summer, and in 15 minutes the dragon is dead because there's no way to get out of the heat.
That's why it's so important, if somebody's going to come to your shop, to to talk to your folks, talk to your staff, and want to do your research anyway, but you need to talk to the people who handle these animals every day.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's just we're there to help. You can buy pets anywhere.
Right.
I mean, you can buy probably skinny pigs. You can't buy hedgehogs or anything, but skinny pigs are like PetSmart or Petco. But the problem is what we really sell is our information, our knowledge, and you can come in and we know all the details on everything about everything we sell, except I don't know why there are no male skinny pigs, but I'm a reptile guy. I have girls that work in the store that are experts on skinny pigs. And even though I worked with these in my first job, I don't know a lot about tenoroks. I chased a lot of them in Madagascar, and I couldn't catch them. They're very fast.
Ken Foose, the owner of Exotic Pets. It's on Decatur. Smoke Ranch is actually the closest intersection, but just know you're heading out toward the North Las Vegas airport, and you can just come in and browse if you want to learn. His staff and he are just amazing sources of information for those who want a pet that's a little bit, off the beaten path. So thank you, of course. You're on Facebook.
I think we're on Instagram. We have a website. Just Google Exotic Pets Las Vegas.
Right.
If you Google, there's a lot of exotic pet stores in the country, but just do Las Vegas.
Right. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, dear.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back to talk about this big outreach the American Red Cross is doing to celebrate everyday heroes here in Southern Nevada.
Retrospects is a purveyor, if you will, of historical eyewear. Retrospects is located on the second floor, right across from the chandelier bar. So when you look at our store from the outside, it looks like there isn't much going on in here. And then you open the drawers. We actually carry authentic pieces from the late 1890s to the 1990s. We have almost 3,000 pieces in here. It's like a treasure trove reveal. We do have a collection of new glasses that we have reproduced ourselves. It's called the Cuthbert and Chen collection. The safe is our jewel. It's our baby. We love it. It's from 1903. It weighs as much as a car. It's solid steel. We use the safe to hold our most precious pieces, our museum collection, if you will. People come in to find glasses that are not something they're going to find everywhere else. Not something all their friends are wearing, and something that they can tell that story. We sell stories as much as we sell glasses. We have pieces that we can associate with very famous people from history, movies, special events that happened in the past. And some of the favorites are the Ray-Ban shooter that Johnny Depp wore in Fear and Loathing of Las Vegas, the beautiful frame France Parisian plastic aviator worn by Bruce Lee in Enter the Dragon. Retrospects is not just about glasses. It's about the experience. It's about how these glasses make you feel. We are a full-service optical shop, somewhere where guests can come to get repairs, restoration, can put their prescription in, can get them a quick pair of sunglasses for the pool, and can give them a really great, just fun experience.
And we are back. We're putting a call out for the American Red Cross's Everyday Heroes event here in Southern Nevada, where they go out and they celebrate the lives of people who do extraordinary things here in Southern Nevada. Here to talk about this program is Cynthia De La Torre from the American Red Cross, and the former recipient of the award, who is Donna Gamble, who is a foster mom, and she has a tremendous story. Now, you've been putting out the call for nominations, but the deadline is actually January 17th.
Correct.
Okay. So first, tell us how the Everyday Heroes event got started.
Well, it got started through the American Red Cross, just wanting to recognize everyday heroes, people who do something on a consistent basis, something that's above and beyond what we typically do, or just a heroic act, that was done one time. So it's something that we do across the country, and here our region, Southern Nevada, we do it annually. So the nomination deadline is January 13th, so we're trying to get all these nominations in different categories.
You have 12 categories, including one for like a service animal. Yeah,
right.
So, yeah.
Right.
And you're working in conjunction with Caesars Entertainment?
We are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Channel 8 sponsors us as well. And yeah, therapy dogs. We had 2 therapy dogs that won last year, and also animal rescue persons as well. So, I mean, we have firefighters, law enforcement, medical personnel, youth Good Samaritan, community service, such as Donna. So we have various categories that many people can qualify for.
Right. Now, Donna, I love your story because how many kids have called you mom as a foster mom?
Lots of beautiful children that I've had the opportunity to have in my home and take care of. And one of the wonderful things about the Red Cross and the event was it was an outreach to people that may not have known my story or known about foster that I continue to promote for Southern Nevada.
Right. Now, it's not easy to become a foster parent, but it is so rewarding. How did you get started?
I got started, I was actually guardian of my 2 goddaughters for about 2.5 years, and they were reunited with their family. So my heart and home was still open for children. So I thought I could still help in some way, and I knew about how many children were out there that needed homes, and I love children, I love families, so I decided to become a first foster mom.
Wow, wow.
And after my first placement, the kids kept coming, my heart got bigger, and I was able to continue to help the little ones.
Right.
And mostly I have the little ones. I have beautiful little girl in my home now, and another wonderful thing is through the program, my own daughter, through adoption, came to me.
Oh.
Whoa,
Yes.
that's amazing.
So, and many other foster parents in Southern Nevada have adopted, and there's hundreds and hundreds of homes that I want to applaud as well.
Right.
That really work day to day to make sure the children have a safe, happy home until they can be reunited.
But for the most part, a lot of times, you know, the story ends up they do go back to their family of origin.
That's always the goal for
Right.
the courts and the systems in Southern Nevada. Reunification is the goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. American Red Cross, too, before we let you guys get away, because you were on your phone while we were doing some earlier segments, many people think that, you know, the American Red Cross is there for those big disasters, and they don't stop to think something as common as a house fire. You were talking about a family that was displaced because of a house fire. A dog was displaced, family members displaced. I mean, these are the little things that happen day to day, 24 hours a day, that aren't the big, you know, events like 1 October.
Right. Well, every 2 days there is a home fire in Southern Nevada. So that is typically what we do, is give assistance to people involved in home fires, which is assistance for lodging and just, you know, food, medication, anything that they need. So that is predominantly, you know, what we do, is handling house fires.
Right. And so that's why it's so important for folks, if you're looking to donate to an organization, this is something that can happen to anyone at any time. And it's so simple. It's like the small things, like you don't have any toothpaste, you don't have toothbrushes, you don't have any underwear. You know, it's like you don't think about those really simple everyday things until they're gone.
Right, the things that we take for granted, that in a home fire, you know, can completely disappear. So definitely donating money to the Red Cross is the quickest way for us to give assistance to families and anybody in need.
So now your deadline for the nominations for your Everyday Heroes is the 13th?
It's the 17th.
The
January
17th, okay.
Yeah.
And then the event itself is April 6th.
Correct.
So
Correct.
what's that like?
Well, Donna can tell you about it, but it's going to take
How
place
was that?
at
It
the
was
Paris.
magical, and I applaud the Red Cross and your sponsors for putting on such a beautiful event to recognize people. It was just a gorgeous room, excellent coordination, the outreach of staff at the Red Cross. It was beautiful. It made us feel very special.
Right. So one of the things that we also wanted to highlight is, you know, a lot of people, especially 1 October, we were all talking before the show, here in the community, it seems almost like people don't really want to talk about it as much, but there are so many people who are heroes, not just the folks who, like the person with the truck, you know, we've got the stories that hit the news, the mainstream newscasts, but there are a lot of people who are just, you know, taking somebody by the hand and leading them to safety. These are the stories that aren't being told as much.
Right, and we do need compelling stories like those. And so we think it shouldn't be very hard to find, you know, a hero because of October 1. So we're really looking for compelling stories that, you know, for people to offer up. And there's so many different categories, you know, that we can choose from.
Right.
That you can't go wrong. You can fill every single one of them with October 1, I'm sure.
So all the information is on your website.
Correct. It's on redcross.org/Southern Nevada. And you go and click on Everyday Hero and then nominate a hero. There's an online submission form, and there's also a downloadable form that you can mail in. Or you can come to the chapter office and fill it out there as well. So yeah, let's get the nominations in, you know, before January 17th.
Right, right. So as this event is, you know, coming to pass right now, Donna, what's a message that you would give out to the community, whether you want to become a foster parent or get involved in the community in any way?
I understand what you're saying, and I think a lot of people think they have to do big things.
Right.
The little things count. So anytime you can volunteer and reach out and help anywhere you can, because it's up to us. It's our community, and we want our community better. So it's up to each one of us to invest in our community and help and do what we can.
Right. And if somebody wants to come down and volunteer for the American Red Cross, the last time we had you on the show, I didn't realize that there were so many little things. I think, just as Donna was saying, people think it's got to be this big, huge thing that you're doing, but you know, you can use some people to kind of come in and help you do the little things as well. Give us some examples.
Oh gosh, yeah, absolutely. We have people who answer phones for us, you know, a couple hours a day. We also have, you know, public affairs, you know, such as, you know, people who work for myself, you know, social media. We have an upcoming campaign that's Sound the Alarm. So we actually teach people to install alarms as well in high risk neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So you know, anything that you'd like to specialize in, you know, we have it.
And we're not talking about a lot of time. You know, I think that's another misconception people have, is like they've got to give like a week or something. You're talking about some things that could just be like a couple of hours.
Absolutely. We have, you know, many events that, you know, people can volunteer for once a month, a couple hours, you know, a week, twice a week. We're totally flexible. We're not picky. Yeah. So like I said, events, we also would love people who speak, you know, different languages.
Yes.
Because we also have international services. So speaking various languages is very helpful to us as well, being, you know, in the small chapter.
Well, thank you both for being on Live Las Vegas with Rikki Cheese, of course. And also, don't make the mistake that I do so commonly. I think everybody is .com. It's .org. You know, so just know that you're not going to the wrong place if you get bounced back. So this is the event. It's the deadline for nominations for Everyday Heroes is the 17th, and the event itself is going to be held on April 6th. So get those nominations out there. Somebody that you know, doesn't have to be this big, huge thing, but somebody that touches your heart in your neighborhood, your church, your school. Nominate them as an everyday hero, because that's what it's all about. It's getting out there and getting the word out and nominating and honoring people just like Donna, who've done so much for so many. So we thank you for joining us on one of our first shows here in 2018. So see you next time on Live Las Vegas with Rikki Cheese.